you might have questions for us about the process, about how's it going to work, like anything really. I thought, I don't know how many of you have like seen a work in progress or been involved in a work in progress, and I just wanted to tell you how I define work in progress and how we've approached it at Spitalfields. It's a work that's in development and has not been presented in public yet. Its format's open, it's part of a conversation, and it's produced collaboratively with the producers. It's an exploration, an early exploration of an idea. You could be so for the final thing, you could be presenting the process. You could be presenting a part of the finished work, or you could be presenting a section of the work in lots of different ways. Or, as Tom talked about, it could be a prototype. It could be a kind of, you could use the final thing as a step more of research. There's so many things it could be, but it's about exploring the idea and making use of the audience. That thing of, there's a group of people that really want to know what you've all got to say, what your thought processes are. How do you make the most of them being in a room? What do they think? Do they have ideas? What experience will they have from this? And what do you want them to take away after they leave that space? Or if it's not a space, if they're interacting in a different way, what do you want them to take from their engagement with your idea? In terms of the application, I hope it's quite clear. We did quite a lot of working on it, but I think what we're looking for is really interesting responses to the theme, that you've thought about your audience, whoever they might be, and what that two-way dialogue might be, to show why it's a good developmental opportunity for you. Like, why are you the right person to have a go at exploring your idea, or how does it move your artistic practice forward? And also kind of some practicalities around what you would do with the time. The other thing is that when it comes to the interviews, we see it very much as a kind of conversation in a room. It's not about us presenting you loads of questions. It's an opportunity for you to bring the idea that you've got and use that time with a group of producers to tease it out, to explore it a bit more, so that whether or not you're successful in the process, you've had that session with a group of people where we can explore an idea. A load of people in the room who are all committed to music, to engaging audiences, to talking to people, to connecting people. So we don't see it as a kind of, you won't be sat behind a desk with lots of questions being asked, is what I'm saying. Yeah, so questions? Anyone got any?
Do you have like a form or anything of what you just said, so we could kind of look at it when we work about the application?
I wrote my own notes. I can include them in the process of what we're typing up tonight. So everything that we've done tonight in terms of taking notes and filming is so that anybody who couldn't make it here, because we were full, can see and have the same opportunity to engage with the process, and the same kind of opportunity to see what we did. So yes, it can be part of that. Yes.
You mentioned mentorship in the application. Is there just a thought process that you want to see from us, who we would like to work, or is it someone that we already know that we'd like to get involved, or is it someone like crazy famous and we're like, oh, we love them, can you get them? I don't know, so what's your thought process behind mentorship?
We asked the question about mentorship because we obviously have a whole collection of artists that we work with, and we don't want to find who the mentors are until we know who the people that we're menteeing are. And we thought that by asking you, it might be that you have someone that you really want to work with, that you've always wanted to work with. It might be that we can open up your thinking around what might be useful for you in terms of mentorship. Or it might be that it helps us get an idea of how it's part of us understanding you as well, so, and your ambitions. But I think we won't look at that until we've kind of decided who the final 3 successful applicants are, because then we can really make sure that we match well, rather than have already established who they might be.
To follow on from that question, can we be creative in our choice of mentor? I mean, do they have to even be an artist? Maybe.
Be as creative as you like. In the whole process, one of the hardest things for us has been we don't have any preconceived ideas about any of this. And we're trying really hard not to have preconceived ideas, because what we want is for people to challenge us. So in the same way that we're challenging you, challenge us back. So yeah, anything goes.
I think the 3 themes that you presented got a lot to do with diversity and mixing up elements. And when I looked at them, it looked to me like I can mix maybe 2 of them together, or even 3 of them together. So, you know, say I come up with an application and an idea. Can I say, actually it links to everything? Is that okay? Or do I have to choose a subject?
We answered. We talked about this in the office today because we thought this might come. It's what we're not doing. We're not going to pick 1 from each idea. So if we get 3 that are the strongest ideas on the same topic, then we'll go with those strongest ideas. So in a way, it almost doesn't matter which one you tick. But we were talking about it, and actually, there's a lot of similarities between them. I suspect a lot of the words on the paper are going to be really the same. But I also suspect that you came here and you picked a group, or you had an idea in your head before you got here of the provocation theme that most spoke to you. And so I would encourage you to tick the box of the... I hate ticking boxes and being in boxes, but I would encourage you to take the one that most spoke to you and still most speaks to you. Because even if it touches on the other 2, that's fine. That's part of the development process, and that's part of what goes on. But yeah, I don't know why we need boxes, but we do. Maybe that's something to think about for next time.
I think you came up in our group about what kind of venue-wise, what are they?
Again, we have a set of venues that we work with really regularly. If you go on our website and look at our events, you'll see the kinds of space we're talking about. Some are really traditional buildings. Some are kind of breakout spaces. Some are not spaces at all. They're just things that we create or spaces that we find. We haven't booked any venues for this. And one of the things we're going to need to establish relatively quickly is the kind of space that you want for the activity that you're wanting. But we also thought, some of this might be online. We don't know. So we will work hard with you to try and help find the right space. We do have some limitations around that, obviously, mostly financial. But also actually in East London, there's just so much going on that it's practically finding spaces. But we do quite well, and we have lots of good relationships with places, so we can explore that.
It focused into Tower Hamlets.
Yeah.
As Kate was saying, we have so many amazing long-term relationships with so many different people within that borough. There's probably lots of interesting spaces that you may come up with that we wouldn't have thought about before we could facilitate.
And it also means what you mean by venue. I mean, what if it's it's difficult because it's a work in progress, but what if the final piece is for a hospital or for a bus stop or, who knows? So that's part of the process for us.
I think I read something about you mixing like kind of different performance, so perhaps music with maybe, like comedy or blah blah blah. That is on the cards.
Up to you.
Okay. Cool.
we do a lot. We do a lot of cross-genre stuff. We've just done a big piece in a cemetery, which was circus music and theatre. So yeah, we do that, and we're totally open to what it might be. And I suppose that might be part of the process that you go through as you develop your idea.
So I'm going to say, how concrete should the proposal be? And I raise that point in as much that there might be potential dangers that if we're coming to you with something you might perceive as being perhaps too rigid. I think that's...
It's really hard, isn't it? Because I also suspect that even if you have quite a rigid idea, through the process of the next 4 months or however long it is, that idea will evolve.
Absolutely.
So I think we need an idea because we need a sense of what you're trying to achieve. So when I talk about the kind of the why and how it's going to develop you as an artist, we had a conversation in our group as well about space for risk and how scary it is to put your thoughts out there and how they might fail, and how terrifying that is. And that's kind of okay as well. If you start off with one idea and then a month down the line you go, oh my god, that was like not the thing. It might become the this instead, then great. So it's for us, what we want is ideas that are strongly associated with the themes, but that also show what you're trying to do as artists, like what's the thing that is driving you as an artist. And so the video thing where we ask you to talk about yourself and your work rather than your idea is to get an idea of who you are and what you're trying to do, like what your thing is.
I was going to say, with the application, would you, can you submit pictures or other items of media, or written is the main one?
If you look on the application form, it's mostly written. There's a film element, which is just not like no stress film. Just use your phone, you know, like just nothing. Don't spend hours worrying about the quality of film or editing or bringing in your friends who are, you know, art directors. It's just literally about you talking to camera so that we can get to know you. It's really that simple.
Just speaking timeline, so the activity will take place in December, and do I understand right, so it doesn't have to be the finished piece?
No, it won't
so
be.
It's just the development till, but obviously, as you were saying, you need to sort of plan things properly, so you have to have an aim for what you can deliver in December. Do we have to put that in the application already, or is that again too rigid then saying that I want to achieve this?
I suspect,
I don't
know because everyone has different working processes, but I suspect when you sit down and think about this idea, you will have an idea of what that might look like. Go with that.
Okay.
If it changes, it changes. But go with that. I mean, it's a really difficult thing, the idea of work in progress. What do you share? How do you share it? You know, and actually, until you've been through the process, you don't really know what material you've got to share in the first place.
Yeah.
So it is quite a difficult thing. I think we ask about, can you imagine what sort of format you might be using and that kind of question. I don't think we specifically ask what's the final thing going to be,
Okay.
because we don't know any more than you do right now. Yeah.
As composers, what sort of opportunities are there for us to collaborate with ensembles or interpreters?
Good question. We've got lots of answers to that question. The production budget is there for exactly that. If you've got people you want to bring into the mix, then that's what that production budget is there for. We also run a training music leader scheme, which is full of really fabulous young musicians who are focusing on community music. Although I have to say, increasingly, the people coming through are just fabulous musicians who are arming themselves with everything they can do. So it might be that there's an opportunity to work with them as well, or it might be that you look at our programme for winter and go, oh, there's an artist you've got in the Winter Festival I'd really like to be a part of this. So there's all sorts of ways, and we're open to conversation about what that is too.
Can I just ask, who are your audience, and who do you want to engage with this work by these young people?
Yeah. Feel free to pitch in. Our audience are, so we have our festival work and we have our learning year-round work. In our festival we have a whole load of things from very traditional chamber music in rows, in a church, on a stage, to crazy things in a graveyard that make you walk for an hour and have things coming out of you that might be circus performers or singers or anything. And then we also have, within the learning programme, we have babies from 0 up to older people who are 90 plus. So one of the biggest challenges to us is that our audience is incredibly diverse. So quite often when we're programming or we're thinking about a project, we think specifically about the audience for that project rather than thinking about our overall audience. Because if you try to do something that would please all of our audiences, it's not going to. So we have a fantastically diverse audience which reflects the venues we use, the place that we live in, the type of music that we program.
Although interestingly, one of the things that struck me when I joined the organisation almost a year ago, and this is very similar for most arts organisations, but looking at the audience that we have for our festival activities in December and June, it's only around 20% of that audience that comes from the local area. And I think one of the things that I think comes across all of these themes is wanting to make something that's going to be relevant and meaningful for local audiences as much as possible. So I think it would be really fantastic to see ideas that are thinking about ways in which we can do more that would connect what we're doing with our local communities.
One more question? Okay, two more. One, and then I'll go there first.
Yeah, I was just wondering, on the application form, is there a way of kind of specifying what you do and don't want to spend money on? So some of the ideas I have, when I write them down and people will look at them and they think, God, that sounds expensive. But a lot of the things that I want to involve I already have, and so would need to be paid for. Is there a way of easily getting that across so the idea doesn't seem completely inaffordable?
Maybe just write it that simply. It is really hard. I mean, this is the first time we've done this. So one of the things we're going to ask you all is, what's the process like? Like, how easy was it? How hard was it? Put that in the application. Even if it's not defining exactly in detail because you don't want to use up too many words, but it's kind of that sentiment. And I think that the interview process for the ideas that we take to interview is very much about those kind of conversations. When you send it through, if you have any other questions like that, or there's anything that you really want to flag, just flag it in there really simply, even if it feels a bit disparate to the question that's being asked. Is that a fair thing to do? Yes, great. Last question.
I was going to ask about the relationship between, you've spoken a bit about Tower Hamlets and Barking and Dagenham. I was also interested about the relationship, the fact that we are on the City Wall and actually the relationships with the Corporation of London. Is there scope to, is there a relationship there, I guess, is the first thing?
There is, and they're a funder of ours
Okay.
as well. So, I mean, it's not that should be the leading point, but I think anything that can begin to think about that interplay and the bridge would be a really interesting potential thing to look at.
Okay. You've got our contact details, you know where we are. So if anything else burning comes up as you're going through this, please do get in touch. Thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been really interesting for me, and I think probably for the rest of my team too, to see what this process means for us as well as for you. So thank you, and I'm really excited about seeing what gets submitted.